Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hi, I'm Supervisor Paula Mahan, and welcome to Colonie Connect. Today, my special guest is our Commissioner of Public Works, Jack Cunningham. Hi, Jack.
Hey, Paula. How are you today?
I'm doing well. We have a lot of things to talk about regarding DPW. And of course, one of the main topics is our new operating agreement with Waste Connections for the landfill. There's a lot of information to cover regarding the operating agreement, but I think we can answer some of the major questions today. And before we begin that, we'll just do a little quick update on our paving plan. How's that going?
We're going very well. We're right on schedule this year with paving. We're going to be doing close to the same number of miles and roads that we did last year. We've got a few stormwater projects that we've completed as well, and we'll be continuing on next year to get some of our major roadways and secondary roads all paved for the residents of the town.
Okay, great. Well, for the second year, we continue to get a lot of positive feedback, and the fact that we're moving right along and maybe a little faster than we thought, I think that's great.
You guys are doing a great job out there.
They are. They've been working very, very hard, and we also had some major improvements right here at our town library, which actually turned out beautifully.
That's
So
right.
it's
New parking lot and new front sidewalks,
yes.
which looks terrific.
So you're absolutely right. Our guys are working very, very hard, and we thank them for that. Now, moving along with our operating agreement, can you start from the beginning as to why we actually began the exploration of the operations of the landfill?
Sure. Well, when I became Commissioner of Public Works, of course, you and I had conversations about the landfill. And one of the things I started looking at is the ongoing financial viability of the landfill for the town residents. And what we were looking at is that we had a huge deficit at the landfill, and we were trying to figure out ways to plug that deficit and keep operating. And what we were able to determine is that basically the landfill industry has changed, or the waste management industry has changed drastically over the last 20 years, and that our ability to compete in that industry was very, very restricted. And so we started looking for other models that we could follow that might help us improve profitability out there. And what we learned was that a lot of municipalities have done what we're now in the process of doing, and that is partnering with a larger corporation to operate our landfill.
Okay. And one thing that's a little confusing, I think, for people is that, well, one thing I should say is we've contracted with outside engineering firms for years to perform the major changes at the landfill design, those types of things, closure of cells. So we've had ongoing outside engineering firms that do that particular work. This operating agreement is a little different, where they actually will operate everything for us and relieve us of a lot of the financial responsibilities, not just currently, but far into the future.
That's correct.
So this is a very long-term agreement. But we just need to be very clear that the town still owns the landfill.
Absolutely. This town remains the owner of the landfill. We are the permit holder under New York State DEC requirements, and so we are very much involved in the operations of the landfill on a kind of a macro basis. The day-to-day operations will be handled by Waste Connections, but we are still very involved with what happens at that landfill throughout the next 20 to 25 years.
Okay, and so, you know, that's one point that we wanted to make clear, is that we own the landfill. And I think a lot of people don't understand that we don't set the regulations for the landfill. It's actually done, as you said, by New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Right. And we have a very good record with them. Our people at the landfill have done a very good job operating
good crew,
good crew, and we're going to keep them working as well. But it's the dynamics of the whole waste management industry that really drives that need to look at different, more, financially more positive ways of running the landfill while maintaining ownership.
Right.
And this is a 25-year agreement. At the end of the 25 years, if the landfill still has life, we still own it.
That's
and
correct.
so the future generation will be able to benefit
That's
from that
correct.
as well.
Yep.
There are a lot of liabilities that go along with running a landfill. And some of those, again, are needing to follow all of the regulations and pay all of the, fees or whatever it might be for that end of it. The other part is that a landfill takes a lot of equipment, and it also, every time there's a change that takes place, it's a very long process with DEC. And any type of improvements are very costly. And this agreement will relieve us of that liability. And the operating company, Waste Connections, will be able to handle that for us. So
Right.
that's a really plus for the future generation of not having to worry about that liability, but having guaranteed income for all of that time period. Because, as you said, we can't compete in the waste management industry. The companies are, they're corporate. It's very different than it was in the past. And we found ourselves competing for tonnage from haulers that could go to other places and get it, drop the trash for a lot less money.
Yeah, I think one of the things that it's kind of the irony of this whole this whole situation is that we're always looking to bring tonnage into the landfill. People don't understand that waste is actually a commodity and produces income for the town. And we're competing with other landfills across New York State and actually throughout the region to bring in that tonnage. We've had difficulty meeting our maximum tonnage rates for 3 of the last 4 years. Because the rates are so low, and the capacity for waste in the upstate region is probably beyond what is available for waste for the next 15 to 20 years. There's more capacity in landfills than you'll have waste coming in. So that competition starts to drive the price down at the gate, and as that competition drives down price, it becomes more and more difficult to operate. And of course, with all our ongoing expenses, it could actually turn upside down and become a taxpayer liability, which is really what we want to avoid altogether.
Yeah, and the signs are there.
Absolutely.
The landfill does have a large deficit. Just this year alone, there was $3 million in depreciation costs.
Correct,
because
yeah.
we haven't started using phase 2 of cell 6 yet. That's a huge amount of money.
The other thing that residents should be aware of is that we're all in favor of, we're all environmentally sensitive. We're all looking for ways to improve recycling. And in fact, with the single stream recycling that's been introduced in this area, recycling has increased a lot. But as we increase our recycling, we're also working against ourselves as far as income into landfill because we reduce the amount of waste. From an environmental perspective, that's great. But from an income perspective, it does hurt us. And so this relationship with a company that's doing both recycling and waste management allows them to operate in a more efficient manner than we could as a single landfill operator, and we could share in those profits with those guys.
Yes, and it's that delicate balance of we want to do good things as a town, as a community to protect the environment. And the same token, we need the revenue to operate a very expensive operation there at the landfill. And as the costs rise and the revenue decreases, it starts to enter a real danger zone. And I think that this agreement at this time is really, again, going to be the security for that extra income that's needed from the landfill, as well as taking care of current things, the upfront payment of $23 million, which by law, the landfill does have deficit, and it has over $20 million in debt service payments that are going to have to be met. This upfront payment will allow us to eliminate the landfill deficit completely, eliminate the general fund deficit, and also set up payments for our debt service for the landfill.
Right.
And it also guarantees income from the landfill for the life of the agreement, and that income is not based on tonnage. That income is it's guaranteed, and that is a huge protection for the taxpayers.
That's absolutely true.
And one of the other benefits too is when a landfill closes, and sometime in the future, our landfill will have to close. This company will also pay, in today's dollars, it's about about a $20 million closure cost. They will take on that responsibility, plus 30 years of monitoring required by DEC, plus build the town a transfer station for the convenience of our residents. Those are all things that we can't provide.
That's right.
And so those are some of the major benefits, again, of this particular agreement. Now, there were a lot of questions about the services that we offer at the landfill. Can you talk a little bit about the services we have currently and the services being offered by Waste Connections?
Sure. The services we have are the services that Waste Connections are going to offer. And that was one of the things that we worked hard to protect, was the interests of the town residents in the landfill use. Some residents like to go up and dump their trash there. They'll be able to continue doing that. We're going to continue to have our hazardous household waste days at the landfill. We're going to continue to have our composting operation at the landfill. All that remains unchanged to the residents. This whole transfer or this whole changeover to having them operate the landfill will probably be virtually transparent to the residents of the town of Colonie, except for the fact that it's going to be a revenue enhancement for the town government. But from an operational perspective, I don't think residents will see any change at all.
No, in fact, there are some perks with going with a company like Waste Connections, and that is, we as a municipality can only run the landfill. They, as a corporation, a private corporation, they can become involved in the community in a lot of different ways, donating to charities or supporting our little leagues or our soccer fields, whatever, as well as maybe some help with parks or open space, things like that. They have a very good record of doing this in they operate 44 landfills across the country, and they have a very good record of being really a good neighbor in the community. So we're looking forward to that part of the agreement as well. So we will have the same services that we offer now.
Yep.
And that's important to us because we try our best to offer excellent services to our residents. The other big question is, will the rates for the hauler itself, Waste Connections, if a resident chooses that particular hauler, or the gate rates, will they go sky high?
Well, that was another advantage. When we talked with Waste Connections in our negotiations, one of the things they recognized was the residents' concerns regarding their operation with the waste hauling company and all that. And they've agreed to cap any increases to residents, both at the curbside pickup and at the gate, to tie it to the consumer price index.
Which is very low.
Correct. So that residents before had no caps at all. I mean, rates could have gone any way they wanted. They've agreed to cap it to the consumer price index, which was a real advantage for the town in partnering with this company, is that we could deliver some additional benefits to the taxpayers, which we thought were important. So I think that's a real plus for everybody.
Yes, definitely. As you say, we don't have that protection. When we run the landfill, we don't have that protection. And this is a protection, again, that goes the life of the agreement. So it's there, for the future generation as well. And I think that's a lot of, in exploring the landfill, you have to project where it will be, at the end of its life. And will it be able to sustain some positive cash flow for the future generation. With this agreement, it will do that. So that's very important to us. We wanted to make sure it was long term, which it is. And at the end of the term, there are a lot of benefits and things, as I said, that they will take care of that we no longer have to. And the landfill itself has an existing footprint. Prior to this administration, I know the town had purchased land and expanded the footprint. That land has not been used yet. We're currently on cell 6, area 6, and the process of another cell at some point in time. Between the DEC process and actual building, it's probably 8 to 10 years for everything.
Cells are about 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5.
3 to 5 over.
Okay, and
yeah.
DEC is about 3 to
You're right.
5,
Yeah,
3 to 6.
Yeah. So, and even when you permit for a new cell, you won't start building it until your old cells are full.
Right.
So you could permit in advance, but you'd still.
But it's a long way out,
Right.
yes. And I noticed as we did our research, there have been many changes at the landfill that maybe the public is not aware of. And that is, in the past, they have increased tonnage. They got a permit to increase tonnage. As I said, they've purchased land to make the footprint larger. They've built cells to take in the trash. So all those things are pretty normal. Normal business at a landfill, and it's been done all these years,
Right.
but apparently a lot of people didn't know that.
As we said when we did our town meetings around town prior to the agreement being approved by the town board, is that the footprint has a economic value to the town, and so whoever's operating is going to run it to its full economic
Right.
value, and that not only goes to the footprint or basically the parameters of the landfill, but the airspace above. We can build to a certain height, and so all of that factors into the value of that landfill. And it's a very valuable asset to the community.
Yes, we are one of the few communities that has this asset.
That's right.
And it's been there for about 40 years, and it truly, in the past, produced a lot of money, but that money has been used up, and so this is the point where we're at now. And again, this secures things for the future, as well as taking care of some things currently. So all of those things together really add up to a really great deal for the town of Colonie.
I think it's a great deal for the taxpayers of the town of Colonie.
Yes.
There's no question about it.
So we had the opportunity, as well as we've gone through the research on landfills. I know I learned a lot over the past year and a half. It was just a real learning experience as far as the operations, the future of landfills, how they affect the environment, the improvements for the environment, technologies that are here and being improved as we speak, and where the landfill operations, where the waste management industry will be 10 years from now. The last 10 years, there have been some major advancements in technology, and I'm guessing that in the next 10 years, there will be a lot of other new technologies out there. And we had the opportunity to visit the single-stream recycling plant in Albany, which Waste Connections owns. And I believe they said they take about 107,000 tons a year
That's
of
their current
recyclables.
recycling. And as you recall, they're expanding that because they're going to be taking in additional tonnage. And the city of Albany just signed an agreement with them
Right.
this week to take in all the recyclables from the city's operation as well.
So Albany, the city, will be working with the same company that we've contracted with, that's great. I think it's great because they are an excellent company. And actually, all of the 6 proposals we received were from the 6 top companies in the nation.
That's correct.
And they were all very good. And our goal was to find the company that fit best into our community and was in the best interest of our community. And Waste Connections really rose to the top for us. They are one of the top 3 companies in the nation, and they have a very strong financial profile, which is important because this is a long-term agreement. And they are very community-oriented, which I think is great, as well as very much in tune with protecting the environment. The goal in the waste business is to keep less waste in the landfills and be able to take it and reuse it to produce energy for recyclables to be used in the United States and around the world. At some point in time, producing fuel, things like that. There are organic waste systems out there that really reduce the amount of waste that stays in a landfill because it separates out the water and the energy that it can produce. and what you have left are limited residuals. And again, all of these things are great for the environment, but our job was to protect that revenue stream and be able to compete in the new waste industry business. And I think we've accomplished that with an absolutely great deal for the taxpayers of Colonie. And again, it's so important to stress that this is a long-term agreement which is going to benefit the next generation.
That's correct.
And that's part of our job as well. So there are many things with this agreement that are provided that we couldn't do it on our own if we were to choose to do that. And again, the things that the town receives from this agreement are a $23 million upfront payment, which will be used to pay off, again, the landfill deficit and the general fund deficit, as well as the debt service at the landfill. The first 5 years, it's
$2.3 million in payments.
And the remainder is $1.1 million per year.
Correct.
As well as if there's any increase in tonnage or space, we will also receive monies for that.
Additional royalties for ongoing operations, basically, which is a big advantage to the town as well.
Okay.
And all that is exclusive of the operating agreement that we have with IES, which provides us with somewhere in the neighborhood of an additional $700,000 a year in income that to this point has always been included as part of the revenue from the landfill, but now it's a separate, so it's above and beyond what we're currently getting. So it's a pretty nice, from a financial perspective, I think it's a pretty nice deal for the town. I think the residents, as I said, will see virtually no change, and I think from a long-term perspective, it's a good match for everybody. I agree,
and you mentioned something that's rather important, and that is the town for years has had an agreement with IES on our gas system at the landfill.
Correct.
And it's similar to an operating agreement.
It's a similar operating agreement.
So it's been going on at the landfill for years. We've had great success with it. And it's really another type of operating agreement that the town has been engaged with, but probably a lot of our people don't know that. But that was a good thing for the town to get into that agreement years ago, because the gas, is sold for energy. It produces methane gas and sold for energy. That's a good thing.
Provides odor control at the landfill as well.
That's correct.
Is a great revenue stream for the town.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So those are all good things that pertain to this agreement, and we really do encourage. We spent a long time working on this with a team of people, professionals from our staff, but also to get outside people, professionals, groups looking at this agreement, to get extra sets of eyes to be sure we weren't missing anything. And we did have the assistance of our engineering group, Clough Harbor, as well as for legal advice and review, Hiscock and Barkley. And we had our financial advisor, Munistat Services, and bond counsel also take a look at the whole plan.
Correct.
Which they all agreed this was a very, very good thing for the town of Colonie. And I think partnering up with having the operating agreement, the company Waste Connections operated, and having the landfill own it, because it is a valuable piece of property for us, is the perfect blend. And so I'm very happy about this, and I think our taxpayers will be very happy to hear that we're going to be able to pay off our deficits, which was part of a financial plan. That's a 10-year plan, and the particular goal of paying off the deficits is at the top of the list. And in this weak economy, with everyone else's deficits rising, we in Colonie will be able to pay ours off. So I'm really happy about that. So anyway, is there anything else that you wanted to say about this agreement?
No, just in general, I can say that my dealings with the company have been very positive, and I think that the residents will be very pleased with their operation up there, and we'll find them to be a good company to be working with.
That's great.
So we're looking
And of
forward to it.
course, you know, our employees there will enhance our Department of Public Works
Correct.
in town, and hopefully there are some of the services that we contract out for our people eventually will be able to do to cut the costs and things like that, because we feel it's important to keep our people working.
Our next discussion, we can talk about how we've done that.
Yes.
Because that's what we're working on right now. So.
Okay. Anything, any other news from the Department of Public Works that you'd like to talk about? Or
Again, you know, as I said, our paving program is going as planned, and my focus has been pretty much the landfill for the last 6 months. So other than that, the Public Works Department is, we're continuing to consolidate and work more with less people. So we've been becoming more efficient, I believe.
Okay.
And managing our budget from that perspective. But I think that next year we'll have some new initiatives going forward as well.
That sounds great. And while we're talking about roads too, I've received a few calls, I should say, you know, more than a few, on the Latham Traffic Circle, which is a state road.
Correct.
And a while ago, the Department of Transportation, the State Department of Transportation came to the town at one of our, they actually held a meeting there in town and set out their plans for the traffic circle. And this summer, they are working on designing the plan. And their goal is to implement the plan next summer. So it's on a path for some, you know, improvements and repair next summer, which we're really looking forward to. And they've finished Exit 6, which is absolutely beautiful.
Correct.
And I don't know about you, but every time I drive through there, it just flows so nicely, and the congestion has been relieved in that area tremendously. So it was a great success.
Oh, no doubt about it.
So we will be looking forward to the State Department of Transportation to improve our Latham Traffic Circle next summer.
This summer also, I'll mention that the Fuller Road project is going on. And at the end of that, we'll see a roundabout down at the Fuller Road exit onto I-90.
Okay.
And that next year there'll be a flyover or a bridge that actually crosses over Fuller Road for Washington Avenue Extension, so that you'll no longer have that stoplight at Washington Avenue Extension. So there's extensive work going on down there as well.
Okay, great.
And of course, part of Fuller Road is in the town of Colonie, so we've been working with Albany County on that project as well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, part of that is, you know, working with the neighboring municipalities and the neighboring branches of government and agencies. By working together, we can get it all done, and it helps everyone that's using our roadways. Other than that, you know, I think we've covered the major updates in the Department of Public Works. And I'm really glad you could be here today so we could do this session on an update on DPW. So thank you very much for being here, Jack. I appreciate it. And again, if our listeners have any questions, they can call us at 783-2728, and we will do our best to answer the calls.
Absolutely.
So thank you again, Jack.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for tuning in to Colonie Connect.